How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I feel like I'm glad that like I have like this project, to like every time I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, like we're doing this.
Yeah, me too.
So it's
Um,
so cool like seeing it like all come together. It's like
Definitely. It's a really interesting mix of people too, which I really like about it
mhm.
because it really it's not everybody who honestly all of these people I could never imagine seeing them in a room together. Like I look at the list and I'm like these are all people who we each have like different connections and situationships with, and it's just so
It's like a crossover episode.
it's such a crossover episode. It's so funny. Um, and I'm really excited to sort of be able to celebrate it. I think the thing about like zines is that it's so arduous, and then you get to that like final moment and you're like, "Oh my God, like it's done. It's here. Here's what it is." And everyone's like, "Oh my God." And
Mhm.
I'm so excited to remind everybody that we put our blood, sweat and tears into this shit. Like it is not it is time consuming, and honestly it can be so anxiety inducing to interview people too. It
Mhm.
took a lot out of me
Yeah,
personally.
it's a lot of energy, and
Yeah.
I don't know because I know that I've like always been a really introverted person, but I feel like still like anxious, but like some sort of like comfort from interviewing people. Like I don't know why. I just think that like I always want to like know what people are thinking,
Me too.
that kind of thing. So I feel like interviewing people just gives me like an excuse to do that. So it's kind of like social anxiety is like a bit like quenched, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think it depends on the interview for me because there are
Mhm.
definitely people that I interviewed that I like. If I really admire somebody, I'll get really nervous. And
Mhm.
I think it's also about the dynamic. And the thing about being somebody who interviews people is you have to be able to establish a dynamic with anybody, you
Mhm.
know? And I've read some really fascinating interviews where it's like people being like really rude, like to the interviewer, like poets and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, not that anybody was rude or that I was scared of that, but like how do you approach like everybody differently? That's
Yeah.
what I like about the zine as a whole too, is it really shows like everybody's sort of
Mhm.
differentness.
Yeah.
What makes people stand out, and then like making spreads that reflect that, has been really fun.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess, yeah, I feel like we could sort of like do the interview in just like a sort of like natural way. So one question that I just thought of is like, how did you go about designing the spreads? And I know that you told me that you wanted to sort of like make a font for like each person, like
Yeah.
character. Can you
Yeah.
process?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, for this, I think that, like I was saying before, all these people who we reached out to for this project are all very different and like have very different approaches to what they're making.
Mhm.
And sorry, my roommate just took a shower and she's playing music. um, but these people all have very different approaches to what they made and how they made it. And I wanted to make sure that whatever we did reflected that because I think the thing about being an artist, especially in this time, is that a lot of people like are on very different pages and creating very different things, and you can't put all of that into one like you can have like questions and like preliminary ideas, but you
Yeah,
can't put it all into like one box,
yeah. It's not
and
like
it
like one shoe fits all or one size fits all.
exactly, it's not a one size fits all ordeal. And
Mhm.
so I really I honestly I went on Instagram a lot and
Mhm.
just kind of would keep scrolling up and down through people's stuff. And I
Mhm.
was like, and then I would go on Tumblr and
Mhm.
try and find images that I thought really reflected like little symbols or little
Mhm.
like motifs that I'd see appear in their work.
Mhm.
And from there, I would go through kind of fonts or go through handwritings, and I created I just like tried to create all these different fonts, and I have a billion pens that I've been using to try and figure out what I think looks best.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's been a very personalized process, which has been really interesting. And some of the interviews I even like recorded because I called people. because I wanted it to feel really tangible as a project.
Yeah.
And I like had to transcribe it too. And it's just like, sometimes I love transcribing, but sometimes it's so awkward. I'm like, oh, that's my voice and I'm flubbing and I was nervous and I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was kind of like, it was just about showing how different everybody is and how individual everybody is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I remember when we were like sort of trying to think of people, it was just sort of like a off like the top of the head sort of thing. Just like throwing out names like who do we know on Instagram that's like really cool and would be like really cool to like highlight in a zine. So it's also like pretty amazing to me how we've been able to like sort of like categorize each of them. And I'm hoping that like I don't know. I just think that everyone's so cool. So it's like I'm really excited to be able to like flip through this.
Absolutely. And I think that like something we talked about too was making sure that there were takeaways from everybody's interviews, like you know, and that was why when we talked and we both came up with the question of like, what have you learned from what you've been doing? And I think that like anybody who looks at this and anybody who, you know, goes through the whole thing, like whether it be you or me or like other artists who agreed to be involved, they're going to learn something from the people around them and from the communities that you and I brought together in this project. And I think that in that sense, it's going to execute exactly what I think we both hoped for it to do, which was literally like teach people things about art that they didn't realize.
Ooh, that's sick. Yeah. I'm also really excited for the Instagram live because I did like all of my like interviews through email. So I'm excited to like actually like talk to people like face to face, like people like I know from Pratt that I haven't seen in a while, or like people that like I know like purely on the internet, and that kind of thing. So I'm like nervous about it, but I think that there's like a mutual like understanding that like this is like cool, like
Oh yeah,
doing cool shit, you know?
yeah. And it's funny because I think, you know, the thing about, I don't understand why people don't really get this, but like anyone who's an artist wants to talk about what they're doing. They want to show the world what they're making. I think that, and that doesn't mean that there's not like private art. Like, of course, like I make art for myself. You probably also make art for yourself. Like everybody does. But when you have a project that you're putting out there, you're putting it out there because you're like, this is something I do. Like, here's my goal with it, you know, and that can be just to have fun, but it's still there and it's still tangible. And I think the thing is, it's so important to kind of highlight your friends and to highlight the people around you because of and show and show like support of their tangible projects, the stuff that you've seen them do, you know. It's not every day that you like come across people who are doing projects who you've known for a while and have like personal relationships with.
Yeah, and like one of the reason. Oh, sorry, but
No.
One of the like my inspirations for like starting like Kickback in the summer was that like you know our classes like shifted to online and we were all at home, so I was like I want to know what my friends are making. Like this is just like one big like reason for me to like find out like what my friends are doing, especially in terms of like film, because I feel like critiques are like really awkward and like uncomfortable, but I do miss like you know seeing people's like reaction like live to things. So yeah, I think that's like I just like miss that because even being home, like we're on our phones probably even more than we were like before the pandemic. So just like seeing someone like post like a film or like their art and like liking it or like clicking the link in their bio, like it takes away that sort of like connection that I feel like existed like prior to like watching people's like reactions to what you made like live and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
So actually, I think I want to ask you a question now. I kind of like the idea of ping-ponging this. And it's interesting because something I was like genuinely curious about is like, you know, up until Kickback, I really only saw you as like a film major. And like, sorry if that like puts you in a box, but like, I was like, yeah, Nande like makes really cool films and like that is what she does. So what I was curious about is like, where do you feel like your film like your film brain and your kickback brain and like your practices with both of these like intersect, or do they feel totally separate to you?
That's a good question, and something I've been thinking about like a lot since the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
because wait, I had like a thought and then I had another thought. Oh fuck. Okay. One of the thoughts was that like at the end of the semester, I don't know, I really enjoyed like my liberal arts classes, and like writing essays and like analyzing like art and like film and that sort of thing. So I remember like being in bed and like looking up like museum like curation jobs, um, because I was sort of like interested in like getting into that sort of scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, why don't I just like do that myself? So that's kind of like why I created Kickback too, just to sort of like put like lots of things in like the same place. And I feel like a lot of the things like thankfully with Kickback I've been like so occupied this summer, but like whenever I tell my mom like, oh, I want to like run away and like live in a cabin in the woods and just like paint, and she'd be like, oh, but what about film? And I'd be like what about it? Like we're not on that wave right now because I haven't really like made anything since like being in school, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny because some people have like when I tell them I'm a film major, they were like, "Oh, like I had no idea," and that used to be like, "What? Like, haven't you seen my Instagram? Like, isn't like all I like talk about and like post about like film?" But now I'm like sort of like a like what am I kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been like diving into more things, but I don't know, like I feel like this has all been something that I've been like interested for like a really long time, and it's just like now that I'm like doing it regularly, which is cool. But yeah, it is like a different space because with film, I'm like very like independent and I like doing everything by myself. But
Yeah.
a challenge, which is something that I was like looking forward to sort of like breaking out of my comfort zone, like with my junior thesis film, which would have been this semester, and like working with a crew and like that sort of thing. But that didn't happen since I took the semester off. So I sort of like, I don't know, I'm like used to like doing things like all by myself. So it's hard to like convert that to like working with people
Mm-hmm.
constantly. But so it's different, but like I don't know, it's like hard, asking people for like materials and like deadlines and like all that kind of stuff, but thankfully I've been able to do it. So I feel like in terms of like the whole like setting up and like organizing is something that I do love about film. I do love like the pre-production sort of thing, but like the actual like production part where like everyone's like filming and like doing things has always been like it's a no for me just because it makes me like really anxious and stressed. But I think I don't know. It's interesting comparing the two actually now.
So wait, if you go back to Pratt, you'll stay a film major, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's like it's something that I've like questioned. Like, can I see myself like making films still? And I think like the answer is yes. It's just like I feel like my brain needs to be like on a different type of switch to like operate in that mode because for me filmmaking it's very like personal and it takes a lot of like thinking and like mental energy,
Yeah.
like a lot of like introspection. And I feel like the wave I've been on like since summer has been like go go go, like text this person, email this person, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where we are next year. 2021.
Yeah, best year ever.
Best year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2021 will be my year, you know.
Mhm. um I guess to like I guess sort of ask you a similar question. um how you got into like writing and then into like the world of zine making is what I'm gonna call it because I feel like it's a world. It's like
Yeah, totally.
mm,
So I got into writing through poetry, and that was kind of always I never really, I think growing up, I never really understood that poetry was a form of writing because it felt so removed from the writing that, like, you know, you do in English class. And like you read poems, but it always felt like a very like taboo sort of thing, and people didn't really like analyzing them, and like, you know, it was always about fiction, which I wrote for a second, I think, in the way that every kid does, but I never really thought, oh, this is something I want to do. Like, this is something I'm invested in. And nonfiction was just like out of the question. So I started writing poems, and I loved it. And I would do it all the time. I mean, I wrote poems. I still do. I write poems like every day. I do it. It's my favorite thing to do. And it's something I've always done for me. And I think I realized that this thing that I was always doing for me was the only thing I really enjoyed doing. And if I started taking it more seriously, I was like, I don't think I'm going to hate this. I think I'm going to love it even more. And so I just kind of kept writing, and then I applied to Pratt, and then I got into Pratt, and then I started going to Pratt. And I just realized that like I wanted a career, and I wanted like to write as a career, because originally, like when I came to Pratt, I was like, oh, like I'm gonna write poetry and like LOL, you know, swag. And I didn't really realize that like I just didn't have a lot of ambition in high school. I was really struggling with like my mental health and just like coming into myself, and it sort of manifested as like me not really caring. And then I got to Pratt, and I realized I felt so lucky to be in New York and to be in a community that I've always wanted, that arts community. And I was like, well, I can't waste this. So I just started working really, really hard all the time. And I was also going out and meeting people all the time. And that's how I met Avery, who I talk about always in everything that I do, because, you know, I met her, like, it was so serendipitous to meet her at Nina's. But I did. And then she made Spew. And then I was like, my sophomore year, I was like, wait a minute, like this zine is crazy. Like, what if I do that? And I just, I found sort of a way to worm it into what I was doing. And, you know, I had an internship at the time that was about like chapbook making, which is very like zine adjacent. So I learned how to bind them by hand, and like, you know, I was in internship too, and my teacher was like, you have to go to this zine archive. So I went and I looked through more, and I just like realized that so many people were using this platform to have a voice and to be heard and to be seen, and like being mainstream and being like, I don't know, like getting like exposure didn't always mean like being heard. And I think I was really intrigued by the idea of sort of making something and then being like, because I want it to be real, it's going to be real.
Yeah.
And so I started getting into zines through that, and it's been so rewarding ever since. And something I really want to find is like more of a place in a zine community in New York, which is surprisingly hard. Zines are really California based. But it's been really, really fun, and I've learned a lot about myself and politics and like honestly everything and anything in like a very relatable way, because it's like made by the people for the people.
Right. Yeah, that's what I don't know how I found out about what zines are, probably like through Instagram, but it's something that like a lot of people don't know like what that is, and I always say it's like a little like magazine, like a zine, like a little book. And yeah, I did notice like our sophomore year, like one of my sort of, I think there was like a zine archive like in the Pratt Library. So I think there was like this sort of like more like knowledge about like what zines were and how like different they could be. And as you were talking, I was like, oh, I wish we could have like a zine exhibit like in the MoMA. Like imagine that. Like that'd be so fucking sick.
Yeah, I mean the printed matter, what is it called? The Zine Fair. I don't know what it's called. The printed matter one at the MoMA PS1 is like, honestly, I wish it had happened this year, because it is one of the coolest things like in the whole world. I love it so much.
Ooh, yeah, I gotta look that up.
But
yeah, I know that it's something that's like can be like really like accessible too. Like you can just like make like a bunch of copies and like sell them for like $5. And it's like a cool thing to like trade. Like what I loved about like the Zine Fest that you had, like when was that, like last like February?
It was this February. It was February 2020.
Oh my God.
I know, it was literally February 2020.
preview. Whoa, that's crazy. Anyway, it was just like really nice for all of us to like be in the same room and just like sit at a table like with our art and just like chat with each other.
Yeah.
I think there's like a cool like social aspect of like zines because it's something that you can kind of like pick up and like look through and like talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Is it interesting too?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I remember even like for Emerge, I made a little teeny tiny zine. I sold it out of a tea box that I had like finished all the green tea in. I sold them for $1. And it was like, I don't know, it was just, it was a really small, teeny tiny way to make something and to be like, oh, this is something I can do. And I think that people think that zines have to be these big, polished products, and they don't, honestly.
That's what I love about them.
The more DIY, the better, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had a class like last fall for like a research project, and my professor wanted like all of us to make like a zine. So that's sort of like where my zine, like Black Images in a White World, came about. And even from freshman year, my zine for Who Are You Really, that was for LCD. And I used like stills and like a monologue from my film. So it's like, I guess it's interesting thinking about like the question you brought up earlier, like how I do like unconsciously like combine like zines and film and like research like things that I'm interested in. So
Mm-hmm.
it really is a very broad topic. And I recommend
Totally.
that everyone get into it. Like if you think you can't, you can. You always wanted to try it. Literally just print out paper and staple it together. Like
Exactly. And you can make like little fold out ones too. Like it's so easy. Anybody can do it.
yeah.
But also it's funny because you were bringing up like film stuff. And one of the questions I had for you is if you would ever like make a film about Kickback.
Whoa. Oh my God. That's a really good idea.
Ah!
I know, like me and Zen, like we want to make like a birthday zine, like a Kickback's like birthday, like in June.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of like basically like everything that's on the website, like putting that into like a PDF or like a printed like document.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a really good question. I feel like that's something that'd be really cool to make like in like a year or two from now and make it like not like a big production, but in terms of like interviewing and just sort of like all of the different like arms and like webs that I feel like I've like made connections with. Like I don't know. That's a cool idea though.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's that. I just feel like Kickback sort of has like documentary energy in the sense that I've just seen it progress so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably would be a later down the line thing, but I was always curious if you like, I don't know, if you ever thought about like the documentation of that process, and how it would be in terms of like something you could watch. Cause so much of like, even like on Kickback's website, like you have that video of you being like, oh, here's what Kickback is, and like all of that. So I just feel like, I don't know, it'd be really interesting to see it in a not document form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes like I wish I did it more, but sometimes I just like randomly like screen record, like when I'm working on stuff, like designing things or like working on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely gonna start doing that more and like talking about like the process of like everything that I've been doing because it's also interesting like doing like most of this like by myself and like what that's been like and like the stress involved, which I feel like is like more chill now and I'm like trying to like be healthier about it. But I don't know, like August to me, like she was tweaking.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's a conversation I've been having a lot with my roommates too, because I keep going and going and going, and I know that I'm gonna crash. And I'm just Frankie's literally like looking at me. She's in the room. She's like looking at me.
yeah.
But like I'll just like go, go, go and run, run, run. And the thing is, like, especially when I'm really invested in something, it's like, oh, I gotta give it my all. And I think because of the pandemic and because of the way that school has felt, it's just been so like unfulfilling, and I'm just so afraid to like be bored and to feel
Yeah.
stuck that I've
Yeah.
like pushed myself, but I've almost like sometimes I feel like that part in Looney Tunes where like Wile E. Coyote's like running off the cliff and he's like still running, but there's like no,
yeah, okay.
yeah, exactly. And like, I think I definitely feel that of like working yourself so hard and trying to be healthier about it. And it's like when the whole world kind of stops around you, but you still want to move forward, it's so hard not to be like, is this healthy? Is this like, am I taking care of myself?
Because the answer is no. There's like this meme that's like, it's like the sexual tension between and me taking care of myself.
The sexual tension between me and getting a good night's sleep.
And yeah, it's like so crazy because I feel like last year, like in school, it was like a really like stressful year for me where I was like sort of like freaking out about how to like manage like all the things, like all like the projects and like assignments and like things like that. So I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like the pandemic has sort of been like I could have like easily like fallen into like a very like deep depression because I did that like last summer when I first came, because there's like a very big difference from like being in New York and like always having shit to do compared to like being like in my parents' home and having absolutely nothing to do, and then a pandemic on top of that. So I feel like my like coping mechanism was to just like create things constantly, which is like cool, but then it's also like, will you ever stop? And then the answer is no. And then it's like, okay, I guess we live like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, it's funny because at the beginning of the pandemic in April and March, I like just started making Oral Rinse issue 2, and then it was done, and then I printed it, and then I distributed it. And so it really didn't hit me that I was in lockdown until I finished shipping the zine, because I like literally had this project that I just like threw myself into. And then I was like, oh, wait, fuck, like we're in a pandemic. Like I've never been here before. What do I do?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, like, it's true when you're in a city like New York and you're provided with constant stimulation that's like gratifying and inspiring as well. And then all of the sudden you're like thrown into, you know, the mundanity of suburbia and your parents and whatever. You're like, wait, I have to do something.
Yeah. And it's so crazy because like I never like imagined myself like taking like a year off, because I've always been like passionate about film, and like I knew that like being in school was like what I wanted.
Me too.
Like about like you know, having lots of friends that like either left Pratt or like dropped out of like college completely. Like I knew that like I was never gonna do that. But I think I'm like really grateful that I've had this time off, because like I don't know, I feel like it's like perfect timing in a sense. Like I was so like stressed out and like overwhelmed last year and like contemplating like what I even wanted to like do with my life. But I think that, like having this time, it's like I can do whatever I want, and I can house, and I can like meet people through the internet, and like everything will be okay. And that's something like I've always like feared. Like I guess like one of my like biggest fears is like failure, but like I don't know. I'm like thankful for all the things I've been able to accomplish in the pandemic, even though like impossible is a bitch. But
no, absolutely. And I think that was part of why we talked about making this zine as well, is because like so many people, I think, accomplish so much and just kind of like, I have to make the most of this and I'm going to be okay. But like, you know, what the fuck am I going to do right now? Like, where am I? What is going on? And I just think that it's important to sort of highlight the fact that so many people that we know, like, pushed themselves in a completely new way and like pushed out of a comfort zone that they otherwise never would have gotten the opportunity to. And it's like, you know, this what's happened, you know, with COVID and everything, like it's so terrible and it's so sad. And like, you know, it's such a massive showcase of like wealth disparity and like, you know, racism and misogyny and all these things. And it's like, well, you know, I'm already sad as it is because of this pandemic. I can't dwell in the negativity of it all the time. What if I create something good? And then like you approached me with this, and I was like, wait, this is exactly what needs to be said and needs to be made right now. Like this is my solution almost.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, one of my questions was like how do you feel like Almanac has like evolved since we first talked about it? But I guess like I'll say like
I had the same question for you.
Oh, really? Like when I like, first like made like the Kickback account, and I remember you like commenting on one of the posts like we need to do like a collab, and I was like absolutely, but like I had no idea what it would be, because I feel like we're both like, I don't know, like our Leo minds are so powerful, so like we really could have made anything. But I think I was like really into like the zine world like once again, and I just thought of like collaboration and like community, which are like the big themes of Almanac. And like I think that you finished Oral Rinse 3 at like the perfect time, where I was like reading it and was just like, this is like so like great to see. Oh, I have both copies, so I have like Oral Rinse 2 and 3 with me, that you mailed like since I've been home. So I remember like the second one, and just, I don't know, I think it's like, I don't know, this is probably a question I'll like ask like later, in terms of like the whole like like the idea of like submissions, and like having like other people's work like in your work, and that sort of like being like the editor and like that kind of thing.
Totally.
But I just remember like texting you like we should make a zine about like friends and like loved ones and that kind of thing, because I don't know, I'm sure you can like relate to this as well, just like missing like our friends. That was like a big like thing for me, and even like people with like family like being separated, like lots of people are still in New York, and like haven't seen like their family since probably like winter break like a year ago. So I think, like the whole community aspect has been like a very like strong like theme throughout this like pandemic, and like the platform and like events that I've seen. So yeah, if you want to talk about Almanac in any sort of way.
Yeah, so definitely like I think I also, even as much as I missed my friends, I also wanted the opportunity to talk to more people and to find more people who were in my demographic to inspire me. Because sometimes looking at like celebrities and stuff, like it's boring to see people who have it all figured out, and it's a lot more fun to talk to people and be like, what are you making? And they're like, I don't know, but I'm here now. I'm like, yeah, me too. And it was definitely interesting, because I remember I finished Oral Rinse 3 and I was like, what am I going to do? Like school is not cutting it right now. Like, what am I going to do? And then you contacted me and you were like, I want to make a zine. And I thought about it. And then we talked. We had like that one FaceTime. I literally like, I had just moved. My room wasn't even like put together yet. I remember I like FaceTimed you from this desk that was left in my apartment that was like disgusting and wooden and weird. And like, we just talked and we were like, okay, like we'll talk in a month. And we did. And I think the biggest thing that has surprised me during this is how involved I really am in the process of making it. Because what I liked about Oral Rinse always was that it really was other people's work and me just compiling it, and like some of my own, but it wasn't like all my own. But this is like me compiling everything. It's not like other people's work. It's like human to human contact that I have to then refine and move around and emphasize, and like embodying all these things instead of having somebody else be like, here's my version of this, take it and use it.
Right.
And I don't know, I never, when we started this, I never expected to try and be thinking about like how I was gonna incorporate like myself into it and incorporate you into it, because I was like, okay, like I'm gonna type this all up and put it in InDesign and easy peasy, no worries, whatever. And then I realized that the part of zine making that meant the most to me was the tangibility, and I just couldn't let it go. And that was when I was like, hey, like, can I make fonts? And you were like, yeah, like, of course. And I think that I just never expected to really like to have so much like drawing and visual components included in the
Mm-hmm.
way that it does. That was a really big thing about the process that kind of threw me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it shouldn't be that surprising because I'm a very visual person. I'm a very visual artist, honestly. But it was. And I think that that was the biggest kind of unexpected turn that this took. Because in the beginning, I thought it was literally like, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to type out a zine, like, whatever. Like, I'm going to make, and the pictures and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then it just sort of became this whole entity. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I've shown some of my friends like the spreads, when I like interview them or whatever, I'll be like, oh, do you want to see this? Actually, I interviewed someone the other day, and then I was like, let me show you what I've got so far. I just want to flex. And like,
Yeah.
that was literally what I said. I was like, I just want to show you.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, they're amazing. You've put so much time into this. And it's like, yes, I
Yeah.
have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I didn't expect to get so dedicated to each person and showing how amazing what they're doing is and showing how seriously we both take it. Because I know that everybody who we talk to, like,
Mm-hmm.
we really respect and have a respect or interest in,
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I know that like the whole like photo and like collage aspect was like a big thing that we talked about in the beginning, just because I feel like that's like sort of like the easiest way to like connect the themes of like connection and like community, like that sort of like nostalgia aspect, and then the whole like
Mhm.
tangible like aesthetic theme that the zine has. Like I always talk about like I really wish I was like a teenager in the 2000s, and that whole like I don't know, like I just always like wanted to like I don't know, that sort of like tape and like grain and like paper, like the textures of all of that. I feel like that like captures like both of us and like people our age like very well. Um and yeah, I wanted it to be like a big like pot of like everyone's like thing.
Like a melting pot. Yeah.
Yeah, just like interviews, like I don't know. I think I'm like really, really excited about this.
Yeah. One of my questions actually is there one thing in particular or like something about Almanac that like you're really just like really excited for, like out of this whole
Mm,
process and everything? Or is it just like the project as a whole or?
yeah, I'm like excited. I'm definitely excited to like read it all. Um,
Me too.
because I feel like reading my own things is something that I like put off, and I'm just like just look at it. Like you don't have to read it. Like just like look at it, like it, tell me it's pretty. But like whenever my friends like make things, I'm like I'm going to read every single page of this. Like it's like that sort of thing. So and like everyone's like different too. Like I know like lots of people like just like sort of like flip through it and then they'll like, oh like I'll read it later. So I feel like this zine will have like both like aspects. Like it's something pretty that you can put on your wall and like show all your friends, but you can also like just like take a hot second and like read through it and then like go on like people's like Instagrams and like check them out like even more. Like I'm more like Cassie's like doing the spreads and I'm trying to do like more of like the website stuff. So I'm excited to like embed stuff and just have it be like interactive and just like I don't know, like it's different just like reading something on like a piece of paper, but actually being able to like click links to something. I always get excited.
Absolutely.
Like I love going on people's like websites and like being able to like find things easily. So that's something that I want people experiencing this to experience.
Absolutely. And it's been really interesting because I'm here like making the spreads and my roommates see me like going.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what is Nande like? What is she doing? And I'm like, she's doing everything else, you guys. Like, it's so interesting because people really don't understand that like this isn't just a zine. Like this is so much outside of it that we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like
like
a project, which is like
yeah,
and like I'll always feel bad. I'm like, oh, like Cassie's like making the spreads like all by herself, but I know that and I know like we sort of like mentioned like sort of like us doing it more like together, like both. But it was one of those things where like you knew what you were doing, and like I can't like my brain is like not in the like design space at the moment, so it's sort of we kind of had this like understanding like you do this and like I'll do that, and we'll obviously like communicate like throughout the whole process.
Right.
Both pieces are like just like as valuable, you know, like
Exactly.
each other.
I can't tell you how many times I've opened up like different Google Docs from you and been like, how did she know that? How did she find that? Because I'm literally just sitting in like my little corner, like drawing my like silly little fonts, you know, like that's literally what I'm doing. And the thing is like what you're doing like online and like every other aspect of this, like literally every other aspect of this outside of the zine, I don't know how to do. I don't know what I would do. And like if you were like, yeah, if you were like, okay, like make this website thing, I'd be like, okay. And,
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, it's been good because I think that it really plays into both of our relationships with like our art and where we want it to go, quite honestly. Cause like I don't really like, I always want to be making stuff like this. And like it's almost like I'm the, what is it? You're the brains and I'm the brawn or something. Like it's like it's really funny. But no, I mean I think the work is divided really well, which is really interesting because it almost like it's been really interesting to see how that's like panned out, you know?
Yeah. Because it's something that like, you know, like I wish that we could, you know, both like be like in each other's apartments and like binding, you know, zines and like picking out like colors of paper. But it's like something that we've like been able to like work around like really well, like doing this like remotely and having it be like successful. Like I'm just gonna call it like it's successful. Like we've been able to like do this like an idea that has like really like evolved
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, like connection and like community and like collaboration, but I feel like every like step of this process has like embodied those themes too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's like really amazing like that we've been able to do this like in a pandemic.
I totally agree. And to see all these people doing all of this stuff has been amazing in a pandemic.
Just
'Cause
like it's sick.
it's
And
crazy.
yeah.
And
Oh,
like
also like what
what?
oh, I was just gonna ask like what's like your like favorite part of Almanac?
Ugh. That's a good question. What is my favorite part? Um, my favorite part is like pinpointing people's aesthetics and then trying to make a spread that feels like a reflection of them
Mhm.
in a way. And then usually I'll like send them a picture and be like, "Do you like this?" And they're like, "Yes, I love it. Oh my God." And it's also because like, you know, I'm promoting them and being like, "Here's this amazing thing that this person I know made." But, you
Mhm.
know, I think it's just a sign of respect to have people who I'm making this for like take me seriously and also to take them seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's my favorite part about it is that you can see the mutual love in it
Right.
and like the
Mhm.
mutual respect.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's like something that like inspired my like want to make like Kickback in the first place. Where I was like, it's sort of that like waiting like permission to like be like invited to do something, and then that like realization that's like I can just do it myself. So sort
Yeah.
of creating like that space for like the amazing people I know to show off their things because like I know they're amazing and I want like everyone else to know they're amazing without that like I don't know. It's like really cool because all my friends like we're all so young and we're like doing this like either like at home or like while in school. And I feel like I don't know people our age and I guess like our generation as always have this like drive to do like whatever the fuck we want without like without like asking for it. You know, like without asking for like adult like how to do this or like where can I like promote this. It's just where we're just figuring it out. So
Yeah. And I think it's really important when you're in your 20s and so terrified of your future to take yourself seriously in a
yeah.
way. Like
Mm-hmm.
you make you. Like you literally like I sit here and I'm like I made this zine called Oral Rinse. I
Mm-hmm.
pulled it out of my ass. Like it wasn't a thing. It wasn't like I just said like this is me, this is my thing, take it seriously and people did. And I never like I was always in disbelief, but I never really showed it because I was like, no, if I want people to take this seriously, I have to take it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't show up for yourself and your art, you can't expect anybody else to.
Yeah.
And
It's just that.
exactly. And I think that what Almanac did and what we did by coming together for it was remind everybody and ourselves that like we are allowed to take ourselves as seriously as we want to, as artists, as people, as thinkers. And like there doesn't have to be that like that fear can be there, but it doesn't have to stop anything from coming into existence. Like we are literally so in control all the time, and it's so scary in its own way. But like taking advantage of it is so worth it, you know?
Yeah. And I hope that like anyone who like, you know, reads the zine or like watches like this video, like if you have things in the vault, like this is your sign to like put that shit out. And even if you put it out, I feel like there's also like so much like it's like so valid too to like make things and just be like super private about it, like moving in silence, but just like the like confidence and like solidarity like in yourself is like it's like it sounds cheesy, but it's like so powerful because you know who else is gonna be you know your number one fan besides
Exactly.
the main thing I've learned this year.
And I mean, this really is the time to go so outside of your comfort zone because what else can you do? You know, like if you have something that you want to make it and literally just like go for broke, you know, like shoot your shot because
Yeah.
you're never going to have this amount of time to work on a project or to think about a project ever again. Like the second this pandemic is over and you're full speed ahead, you know, whatever you've been thinking about, whatever you've been wanting to do, like it's just never going to get done. So why not just do it now?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so worth it. And like I think Almanac is something I've always wanted to do but never had the time and the collaborator, honestly, to sort of I've never had that ability to come together and do it. And this totally isn't something I could have done on my own.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
and I'm thinking about it, it's like I wouldn't be doing this with like anyone else, you know? Like I feel like we're both like we've like been like on the same wave of just like if we want to do something like we're gonna do it and we're just gonna like figure it out. And if it takes like asking a bunch of people to like submit things, like we're gonna nag them until like they do it. So I feel like both like on the same level, like I don't know. It's cool.
exactly. I was never like afraid that it wasn't going to happen. I was never afraid that it wasn't going to get done.
Right.
Because I knew that like you would hold yourself accountable and I would hold myself accountable. And the only thing we had to worry about is like annoying other people.
Yeah.
And then it's just like that for me was enough to go. And I think when you collaborate with somebody, you have to trust them. And I never had a moment where I didn't trust you. And that was how I knew that it was going to be okay and how it was going to be something I was proud of, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Oh, so sick. Well, did you have like any other questions?
No, you answered them all. This was such a delightfully like engaging back and forth. Like I was looking at my list of questions and slowly deleting them because I was like, okay, there goes another one. Like, okay.
I kept like looking at the time and it was like I thought we'd been talking for like so long, but it hasn't been that long. So that's good. Like, you know, time-wise when you're having fun. But yeah, that's sick. I guess the last thing, also like what collaboration means to us, and then also like what is Almanac, like if like someone was, because it's something that like we've been been like sort of like posting about, but I'm sure everyone is like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
So like a little like preface or like context to what Almanac is.
Totally. Almanac is a zine that is also a collection of everything that everyone has accomplished despite the adversities of 2020 and even before 2020. It's a collection of not only things that we're proud of, but also things that the people who we interviewed should be proud of too. And, you know, Nande and I both took the time to interview artists that we knew or artists that we felt close to or artists that we maybe didn't even feel close to but really liked. And we just collected their projects and, asked them these questions. And out of it came this beautiful collection of accomplishments and tangibly amazing works of art.
Yeah. To me, Almanac is like, it's like a big like crossover episode where it's like you're making the spreads, like I'm working on like the website, like Zen will be like helping like post things like on Instagram, like implements, like Ali's making the cover, like Naomi's making like some posters. It's just like a big like hodgepodge of like everyone's talents and just like gassing each other up, and like really like sitting in this like community that we've been able to like create like remotely, especially. So yeah, I'm excited for everyone to get their hands on it or get their eyes on it or listen to it, all the things.
All the experiences that you can have, even in this time of the internet and this time of Corona.
Yeah.
But why don't I ask you first? What does collaboration mean to you?
It's funny. Like I haven't even written this down yet, but it's something that I've been like, it's like in there, but I'll try my best. But I guess like when I think of collaboration, I think of like that sort of like judgment free like brainstorming and just being able to like talk about like ideas and like plans and like just that like, and I feel like that's something that you can only have with like so many people, that sort of like trustworthy like connection. And I feel like whenever I like work with people, I don't know, it just makes me like really happy to like work with people and like have it like succeed and have like everyone be on the same page and like having like their own like jobs and like that sort of like smooth like cogs in a machine, like everything like running smoothly. So yeah, I don't know, collaboration is like, it's something that's so valuable and something like, I'm someone who likes doing everything by myself, but like I know at the end of the day, like there are just some things I can't do by myself and like I need help. So it's just like, I don't know, putting people's minds together will always be interesting. Like there will never be like a dull moment where you like put a bunch of people, especially a bunch of artists or like creative people in a room and it's like not eventful, you know? So that's how I feel about, it's just like always fun, collaboration. How about you?
Absolutely. God, collaboration is it means everything to me. I think that, everyone I've ever talked to who's an artist is like, the people you are around are the people you will see succeed. The people you are around are the people you will see grow. And why would I not amplify that? And why would I not attest to that when I'm so proud of what I see around me and I'm so inspired by it? And I think collaboration to me also means community and safety and security in a way that like I never really experienced because I'm an only child. So I like wasn't really surrounded by like peers, and I wasn't really surrounded by like people who I felt like were on the same page as me for a very long time. And I didn't even know what that page was for an even longer time. And collaboration for me is just sort of it's about finding yourself through other people and opening yourself up to that experience, because it's always, always worth it to come together with someone else and see what you can do.
Yeah. When you were talking, it made me think of like me in high school, where I felt like, I don't know, like being in high school and like being in classes, I just always think like, I do not want to be here. Like I want to be in New York. I want to be in art school, like blah, 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 blah.
Literally same.
Yeah, so like coming to Pratt, it's like I instantly like found like my people in a sense, but not even people who were like me, like people from like different majors, like literally like all of our friends are like so different. Like I ended up meeting like you and like look where like we've come. So it's like that growth of like seeing like myself grow and then seeing like all my friends grow.
Yeah.
Really, like personally, it's just like, oh my God, the power we have.
Exactly. And when we all met each other in 2018, we were all freshmen who I think were so small and so scared in a way. And then all of a sudden, like, watching everybody come into their own power and like claim their own power is a really beautiful thing. And you know, I think with everyone, it's always up to the individual to come into themselves and to come into their own power. And like, you know, when you do that, and when you do that in a way that involves other people, I think that is so intimate in like, honestly, like the best way imaginable, because it always makes something or does something that like makes your own power even stronger, you know?
Yeah. Look at us. You know, that
Oh
like
my God.
meme. It's like, who would have thought that would be here?
Yeah. Oh my God, that Paul Rudd meme. I love Paul Rudd. He's amazing. I think about him all the time. I can't believe I said that on a recorded thing, but it's true. I do love Paul Rudd.
No.
And now maybe he'll know, you know, someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, look at us. I mean, it's crazy. Like this year is going to end.
I know.
2020 is about to end. And this is not at all. If you had told me in 2019 that this is where I'd be in 2020, I would have been like, no.
No, I can't.
And here's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I love, like the first time we talked about it, we're like, this zine is going to come out December 31st, like New Year's Eve, like it's going to be a bang. But I know that like, this is something that like, we're still going to like be like talking about or like promoting or like still like involved with even when 2021 is a thing. So like that's cool. And I'm sure we'll make like an almanac too. Like I don't know. I know that like we both have this like drive to like do this. So.
Yeah, I really want to, because I think especially like when things start back up again, like so many people are going to have so much to say and to do. And how could I not be a part of it? You know? Yeah. I love getting Katya always says her paws. I love like getting my paws into things.
That's hilarious.
I know.
Wow. Oh, okay. Sweet. Anything else that you want to say before I stop recording?
I don't think so. Anything else you want to say?
The zine will be released December 31st. We're gonna figure out like the physical copies, and my mom's watching like a movie, like an action movie, and she just like screamed. Anyway, we're also gonna have an Instagram live on December 30th from about like 4 to 9 p.m. It's gonna be like a long like thing where like artists will be like hopping off interviews. We have some people like performing like music live, which is, it's just gonna be like an even sicker thing. Like Almanac, like the zine is cool, but like this event would be like even crazier. So
we're gonna celebrate, and we're gonna celebrate with everyone, and it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know why I feel like waving.
You should. You can wave to me.